Hello, everybody. Welcome back to day 63 of 100 Days of Magic. And today we are going to take a look at Invasion. The Invasion set came out in October of 2000. 350 cards, 110 each. Rare, uncommon, and common, and 20 basics. Now, I'm sure glad they don't do this anymore. Collecting sets back then was really hard with an actual third of the set being rare. I don't know if there's a lot of difference today with mythics plus rares, but 110 is that's legit. Anyway, let's see what we got for us, the EDH players of the world. As usual, I'll go through every legendary creature. Atalia here, 5 mana, 2/3, X and tap. Prevent the next X damage that would be dealt to target creature this turn, or gain X. But you can only spend white mana, which is not a problem if she is your commander, because you're forced into mono white anyway. So the untap effects are a lot in green. I don't know if there's that many in white. I'm pretty sure I have not got her built, and that's kind of where my mind's going, is how I'm going to eventually build her. She's a cleric, so it doesn't really encourage clerics tribal, because you've got just as many black clerics as you do white. But Crusading Knight, 4 mana, 2/2 pro black. It gets +1/+1 for each swamp your opponents control. Translated into play this in Orzhov and play Urborg, because it is ridiculous if you've got an Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth and every land on the board is a swamp. Yeah, it's really good. Death or Glory. Now this was, I'm not sure if this was a complete cycle, but I want to say that it was. All colors got something or something, and it was an opponent's choice cycle. This feels very black, though, by today's color pie standards. You separate all creature cards in your graveyard into 2 face-up piles, exile the pile of an opponent's choice, and return the other to play. This feels black. I mean, it really does. But it's a good effect in white. Rhea Dawnbringer. Now, I had too much fun with this card. Oh my gosh, I did. Because there was a time where you could swamp, Dark Ritual, Buried Alive, put Rhea, and or even the, oh my god, there's so much. But yeah, I would take 9. I would take 9 on turn 1 to get her out, and even outside of that. Now, as far as her being a commander, 9 mana commanders are, especially 9 mana commanders that don't have an immediate impact, like, well, for 1 more mana, you can get Progenitus. Yeah, I mean, she's a little high casted, although that beautiful. Now, if you can find a way in a 2-color deck, a blue-white, and you can have multiple upkeeps, things can get fun. But the art's beautiful every time they've done her. I think the art's been different, but it's so similar. Rout, everybody's favorite Wrath. Well, maybe not your favorite Wrath, but it was the one that really changed how we. 5 mana Wrath of God, just straight 5 mana Wrath, because they can't regen, or a 7 mana Insta Wrath. That's what made this card shine so much. It was a powerhouse then, and I think it's kind of gotten pushed by the wayside, because board wipes, there's just so many of them, and there's so many conditional ones, and each deck kind of wants a different style, and to just destroy all blanket, we have Urza. Now, the story, this was Urza disguised as an old blind man. but obviously we can't call him Urza because, you know, he says blind's here. And he just changes colors. Target spell or permanent becomes the color of your choice till end of turn. Now, this one's going to be fun to build. It's probably going to be a lot of the blue cards with protection from, well, mostly. There isn't a whole lot of pro green, but there's a lot of pro red and stuff like, I don't know, red elemental blast and hydroblast, or blue elemental blast, I'm sorry, hydroblast, things like that. I don't know. Could be a lot of fun. It just seems like, you know, 2 mana. Because the benchmark for that ability was 1 mana from, oh gosh, it was like from Alpha. Empress Galena. Now, Empress Galena is, I do have her built. She is way back there. How I have her built is, of course, that's pretty powerful. You know, 2 blue tap, steal somebody's commander. That's always, I mean, we're always going to have, every player is going to have a commander. So, how I built it was, I steal your everything. It was mono blue, control, magic, dot deck, I guess. It was I steal your stuff. And the deck actually scales pretty well because, you know, my deck is only as good as my opponent's deck. Although typically somebody's going to have something that's a little better than everybody else's, and then I get to steal that. Fact or fiction. Now, there were articles just written about how to properly fact or fiction because the card, it looks so simple, but I promise you it's not. It is. There are so many ways here. Let's see. You reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent makes the piles. You pick where the piles go. 1 to the hand, 1 to the graveyard. I have seen this in many, many forms, many decks. Now, obviously, to put cards in hand, you know, you're out 1 for casting this, and more than likely, most of the time, it's going to be a 2-3 split, unless there is a card that they absolutely do not want you to have, and then it's probably going to be a 4-1 split. If you have done some table politics or made a deal with somebody, you can potentially make part of your political deal, hey, I need you to make 1 stack of 5 and 1 stack of 0. Maybe if you just save somebody's life or what have you. I didn't counter your thing, so you're going to make a 5 and a 0. But either way, it doesn't really matter. There are a lot of decks that, I mean, so what? They go to the graveyard. They're not exiled. They're just in the graveyard. And that's your second hand. I mean, especially if you are, this is 1 blue, so it's very splashable with blue-black, blue-green, blue anything. And those cards in your graveyard is just another resource that you have. Especially if you're, I don't know, playing black. Collective Restraint. Now, we're all familiar with Propaganda and Ghostly Prison, but Collective Restraint is one that is kind of amazing because it counts your basic land types. So, 5-color decks are not that common, and even when they are built, they don't have a whole lot of basics in them. But 4-color's a lot, even 3. Now, let's say, you know, 3. 3 colors, you've got, you know, your 3 lands out. That means they're paying 3 per creature to attack you. Now, that is what is so beautiful about it. They can attack anybody else all they want to, much like Propaganda. But Collective Restraint, I think I'll play it in my Domain deck. I think Chromat was Domain. But I think that's the only one I have. It may not even be in there. It may not have any. But that's where I would, because Domain works off of the number of basic land types you control, and that was kind of a theme in Invasion. Now, Desperate Research is another card, works really good with the Second Sun, Approach of the Second Sun, because you cast your Approach of the Second Sun, it buries itself the seventh card. You probably wait until your next turn because Approach is not a cheap card to cast, or if you can do it this turn, that's fine. But more than likely, what you want to do is you're not going to have enough mana to cast Approach twice in the same turn. So you're going to cast Approach, you're going to gain your life, and you're going to bury it 7 deep, and you're going to do whatever else and pass the turn. And your opponents are going to feel like they have some time. Yeah, they know there's a clock ticking, but they've got some time. You're going to untap, upkeep, draw, cast a Desperate Research, naming the Approach, get that Joker back in your hand. Hopefully by this time you can actually cast it, and ta-da. Anyway, it's good in other circumstances as well. But you've got to really want that card enough to exile the rest. And of course, you only want to do this under controlled circumstances where you know what the top card of your library is. So maybe you scroll racked it there, or put it on top of your library with a, I don't know, whatever. But it's decent. Phyrexian Delver. Now, boy, this one saw a bunch of play. I'll have this one in my Phyrexian tribal deck, the tribe that's not a tribe. I've kind of settled on Phyrexian in the name, is what I'm doing with that one. Thank you, Chris. But this one comes into play. You reanimate a creature, yeah. You truly reanimate because you lose life, you go to its CMC. But I like it. It kind of makes me... I don't want to do Hell's Caretaker shenanigans with it because I feel like I would die very quickly by my own hand. Of course, then you've got the whole Death Shadow aspect of that with your low life, but let's face it, that's not a real strong strategy in Commander. We don't race to spend our life down to 2. But it is a good card. You're going to cast it, you're going to get 2 creatures at least. I've seen some pretty sickening chains set up by the Delver. It's pretty neat. Twilight's Call for when you got to get them all back. Now, Living Death was 5 mana. And it traded what was in play for what was in graveyards. This just brings back all the dead things. It's each player. Now, the best play I have ever seen with this is it was years ago. A friend of mine, he cast Twilight's Call and looks around the table waiting for somebody to counter it, and the blue player starts tapping mana, and he just hangs his head. He's like, and he goes to put it in the graveyard, and the blue player plays Gather Specimens. Yeah. Obliterate cannot be countered. That's nice. Destroy artifacts, creatures, and lands. They cannot be regenerated. I am not running this in Atraxa. I don't think. No, because Atraxa's redless. She has no red, I do believe. It's been so long since I played that deck. I need to get it out and play it again. It's been forever. Anyway, my point here is it doesn't hit Planeswalkers. It doesn't hit enchantments. So those are things that we can build around. Your Obliterate, it does cost 8 mana. Artifacts, creatures, and lands. So your Mana Flayer is going to be intact because odds are you played that, and then you played Obliterate, and then bad things happen. But also, if you can make your stuff indestructible, that's pretty sweet. Urza's Rage. Now, Invasion did it, introduced Kicker. Kicker, we found out in Dominaria, was themed, is what they call it, as Dominaran, or Dominaran. Now, here's the thing with Kicker. They wish they hadn't done Kicker as early as they did, because most mechanics are just some kind of riff off of Kicker. If there's an alternate cost or an additional cost, we all think of it as Kicker. I mean, so. But I like that it exists. They made cards for it. 3 for 3 is not special. 9 for 10 uncounterable. It can get you there. It was a big card at the time. Bind. Just solidly overlooked, I think. Counter target activated ability, draw a card. These are things that you don't normally see in green. It is a 1-for-1. It's not going to cost you a card in hand because it does replace itself. And that activated ability, yes, I know they can just activate it again. But there are times when, if something involved tapping, or if somebody removed 3 counters from their Magistrate's Scepter to take an extra, nope. It costs them counters and it's tapped now and whatever. But anyway, decent card. Elvish Champion. Yes, it was the year 2000 before we got an Elvish Champion. Can you believe that? 93, Merfolk and Goblins got it one. And 2000, Elves. +1/+1 and Forest Walk is pretty strong. The Land Walk abilities, I believe, the blanketed Land Walk abilities. Now, we've got some individual cards that just have Swamp Walk, Forest Walk, what have you. But it is to be able to blanket this ability, and there are ways to force to give your opponent a forest if you just absolutely need to. Kavu Lair. Now, they have done several cycles over the year with Power 4 and then some Power 5. There's several keyword mechanics on it, but this was one of the earliest. A creature Power 4 or greater, its controller just draws a card. So it's a good card draw in, heck, most green decks, because you're probably playing 4 power beaters or bigger anyway. And 3 mana is really not that much of an investment. Molimo. Y'all remember my Molimo deck. Power and toughness each equal number of lands you control, and he has trample. That's the beautiful thing. A lot of times back then they would make the really big creature, and it would just be a really big creature, and it wouldn't. But this having trample, I think that's. Of course, that's probably why it's 7 mana as well. But I like to throw Blanchwood Armors on him. Of course, that deck is all about ramping land into play as fast as possible. So, a Molimo deck 7 mana is probably about every other deck's 4 mana. Restock. Now, we had Regrowth back from the beginning, but this gave us 2 Regrowths. Now, this does exile itself. Regrowth does cost 2, so this is not 4 mana. It is 5, but, that's probably... Now I think they're printing this as uncommon, if I'm not mistaken, in a few of the master sets or the core sets. Something. Tangle. My opinion on Tangle is it is probably the best Fog variant they've ever made. I believe it. No combat damage, but attacking creatures don't untap. So this, in our format, this allows whoever is trying to alpha swing you, this probably lost them the game. Because not only did they not kill you for two or the rest of that table revolution, no, no, because if they are attacking for two total table revolutions, their team is tapped. Wow. Utopia Tree, because Birds of Paradise was too strong, so they gave us Utopia Tree. Now, I believe they still continued to print Birds of Paradise after this until, I don't know, I know it left and it came back in Ravnica, City of Guilds. That's the reason why they put it in the guild kit for Allegiance. But it's still tap for a mana of any color. It's still not bad. I've played it. As a matter of fact, I think all of them that I own are in decks. Verdaloth the Ancient. Now, this is Kicker X, where, X is number of saplings you want. Oh, by the way, Sapperling is copyrighted, and they intentionally don't have any printed creatures with the type Sapperling. It's intentional. Yeah. But Tree Folk and Saps get +1. He's a big dog. I mean, I think I run him in Doran. I run him in Tribal Tree Folk. But his deck, I think, is that Tribal Tree Folk? I can't remember. Lots of ways to build it. You can build Saplings, you can build Tree Folk, you can build Kicker Matters. Ooh, I should probably put that elf that taps for 2 mana when you kick things in this deck. Absorb. Now, this was the very first one. The first time that it got printed. And this was in a time of 2 mana counters. So here, what they did, I looked at it and I went, oh, they put Healing Salve and Counterspell together on the same card. And they just added the cost. Okay. It was good. People better than I played it and knew that it was really good. But I don't know. The 3 life almost just seems like it wasn't really a big thing. Now in our format, maybe not. That's 3 specific. I don't know. In the right deck, probably. Of course, I think, all cards are good in the right deck. Armadillo Cloak. Oh, man, this was my jam right here. 2/2 and trample and deals damage. Gain that much life. Now, this is not lifelink. There is a difference in the Spirit Link type ability and life. Oh, wait a minute. Deals damage. This might be life. I get them confused. I do, because those 2 abilities are not... There's lifelink and then there's what we call the Spirit Link ability. And they are different, but similar enough to where it's so different, it kind of gets me a little confused. But I'm sure looking at it, if I had a lifelink one right beside me. But anyway, this is a beating. In a lot of Selesnya decks, you have a lot of creatures that count up how many permanents you have or how many creatures you have. And a lot of times those are just big beaters without trample. This will get you there and get you some life. Artifact Mutation. Now, there was a pair of instants here. There was Artifact Mutation, and I want to say, Aura Mutation. There's 2 of them. One destroyed, obviously, an artifact, and the other one destroyed an enchantment. Now, these, it being rare, I don't have that many, but 2 mana to pop an artifact and to get some dudes. Really good, especially if that artifact you're popping is 4, 5, 6 mana. Same thing here with the enchantment version. I hate that it's got Multani in it, and yet we can't use it in Multani because it's Selesnya. Flavor fail. Aura Shards. Whoa, baby. Now, every time I see this card, it just gets better and better and better. A creature comes into play to your control. It's not casting. Your mass tokens, if you're playing, let's see, we're playing Celestia to play this, Rise the Redeemed, or if we're playing any of the, that's what Celestia does, is make tokens. You can just, because it's May, you don't have to, so you're not forced to, shoot your own aura shards. You may, and with enough token generation, aura shards will keep every single artifact enchantment off the board, unless they are, shrouded or hexproof somehow, indestructible, what have you. Captain Sisay. This card just keeps getting better. It was always a good card, and then when they did the Planeswalkers are now legendary thing, oh man, the price on Captain Sisay got crazy there for a couple days. I think it's settled down back now. I no clue what it is. Like I said, I've never traded for one. I've never bought one. The ones I have, I pull from packs or from the vault. So, as a matter of fact, I think I may have. Was this the one that I bought a From the Vault Legends, and I got 15 cards. Can't remember to which creature I didn't get, and then I got 2 copies of another one. But, as weird as that was, I was able to somehow fix it because somebody else had a need for to. Their From the Vault was right, and they wanted another copy of the one that I had doubles of, so we just traded the one for one that I was missing. But anyway, yeah, really good to go get. It's legend or legendary card, If you happen to draw your Thespian stage and you haven't drawn your Dark Depths yet, Sisay's got you. Croesus. Now, the cycle of Dragon Legends here were. They used the same color trios that the original Elder Dragons used. And I think Rith was the one that had to go around and to wake them all up, because when the final battle was coming, they needed everything they could possibly get to fight. So, and they all were similar. They were 6 mana, 6/6 flyers, and deal combat damage. A combat damage trigger, you paid 3 of generally 2 in their center color, and then whatever effect was of that center color, like here was discarding. Croesus actually in building down there, but the problem with Croesus is, man, so many good cards that are Grixis I've already used in other Grixis decks, because it's a very popular deck to build, is anything Grixis. Thank you, Nicol Bolas. Maybe the War of the Spark will help us out there. We have Daragaz, the red-centered one. Reveals his or her hand, deals X damage, where X is the number of cards revealed of that color, so you choose a color, obviously. 6 mana, 6/6. Dromar is the blue-centered one. Choosing a color, bounce. Dueling Grounds. Whoa. No more than 1 creature may attack each turn. This prevents those weenie hordes from getting you, and no more than 1 creature may block each turn. This is, if you are running a commander damage deck to where, that's your horse and you're betting everything on him. So, Dueling Grounds may be a thing that you want to look at if you're in those colors. Fires of Yavimaya. I'll admit it took me a while to warm up to this card. Now, everybody else didn't, but a lot of times, I'm slow to the party. giving your team haste, like for the rest of the game, I'll admit, I was spoiled to things like Concordant Crossroads. It was still kind of fresh on the mind at the time. And I was like, eh. And then you could sack it to not even a giant growth. And I was like, I don't get it. But as it turns out, giving red and green creatures haste is pretty good. Impervious Great Worm time. Hannah, Gerard's main squeeze. Now, I'm actually building Hannah down here, and I've been building Hannah for a while, since before C18 came out, and I was going to do, because all the Hannah decks I had seen were artifacts. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. So I'm going to do enchantments. And then C18 came out and gave all the enchantment love. And now I'm seeing a lot of Hannah enchantment decks, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'll probably just end up doing a mix of both. But she's really good at 3 mana. 3 mana to activate to get an artifact back. So, I mean, the very first artifact or enchantment, the very first card that pops in my head is the Sad Robot. I don't know why. Or Burnished Heart. Man, Burnished Heart. Because with Burnished Heart, you can also play Sun Titan, since she's white-blue. And Burnished Heart, you know I love to play Burnished Heart with Sun Titan. Kangi Area Keeper is the commander of my Tribal Birds deck. Yeah, Tribal Birds. X feather counters on it. Now, he's already 4 mana. And the kicker starts to even get 1 feather counter. You've got to puppy in 3 mana. So, I hope I've got a lot of ramp in that deck. I don't know if I do or not. I probably need to go back, because I think I built it so long ago that we didn't have all of the Azorus mana rocks that we have today. So that's probably a real thing that I need to look at. But that's about what Kangi is good for, is Tribal Birds. That's pretty much it. Overabundance. Another Gruul enchantment. Yeah. It's a mana doubler for all players, but it turns them into City of Brass-ish type effect. So, that's a real thing. Especially if you get somebody who's just, abusing the mana system. Rith, the Sapling Maker, the 6/6 Dragon Legend. Sterling Grove is the one card that should have been in C18 that probably wasn't. I mean, I can see the argument a lot for, well, it didn't have enough reprints, and 6 of one, half dozen the other, but Sterling Grove should have been there. Should have. I mean, because this is the card. It spiked hugely when that set came out. Because if you're talking enchantments, you're going to be playing white and green. And this is the pinnacle card for that deck. Teferi's Moat. Now, whether good, bad, or whatever, I have played Teferi's Moat probably way more than I should have. Yeah, definitely way more than I should have. Because it only works against that color. Now, sometimes you get lucky and have a dominant color that everybody's playing. That's not always the case. That's the exception, not the rule. Isolation is not the answer. Treva, I believe she's the last one of our 5. You're gaining life. Currently, question for y'all. For those of y'all that are still watching 34 minutes in, I currently have Treva earmarked as I'm building a deck, and this is the right colors. Green, white, blue. It's tribal crabs. Now, it does not fit the theme. There are no legendary crabs. in existence. Uh, it has to be green, white, blue. Now, there are other green, white, blue options out there. Yes, true. Um, but have y'all got anything better for a tribal crabs than Triva? Or is I keep feel like this is a since we got all these crabs in Ravnica Allegiance, I probably don't need to be in a hurry. Maybe War of the Spark. I don't. I think War of the Spark's going to be so Planeswalker centric, we might lose some of our legendary creature slots that we would normally have. I don't know. Who knows? The whole thing may be legendary matters. This may make Dominaris shoot through the roof, but either way, I need, yeah, Triva, life gain, whatevs. Sabo Tavok. Oh, so good. Protection from legends. She cannot be blocked by anybody's commander. That's beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful. Black, black, and tap to destroy target legend. Now, there's a. Isn't there a ley line that makes it? I think it's. Yeah, that one's blue, though. That makes everything legendary. Yeah, I think that's the blue ley line, so it doesn't really fit in her deck. I mean, she was a monster in the deck. Just. I really wish the word Phyrexian was on her because she was actually the leader of the Phyrexian army in the invasion. So, and the word Phyrexian is not on this card anywhere. I may have to make an exception and put her into the Phyrexian deck because, I mean, and if this is your commander, oh, buddy, destroy target legend. It's nice. Undermine. Here again, another 3 specific counterspell. Blue, blue, black. This one was my preferred one because it's which was insult and injury, but you get the counter and it gets you closer to winning. And as we know from the story from my mother, absorb does not get you closer to winning. Undermine does. Still in our format, though, it is a 3 specific hard counter. I think we got better options. Void. Choose a number. Destroy all artifacts and creatures with converted mana cost equal to that number. That player reveals cards and discards from it all non-land cards with converted mana cost equal to the number. They had to put non-land in there so people would choose something besides 0 and make them discard all their lands. And, destroy all. Yeah, that's artifacts and creatures. So they didn't want to. This is a beautiful card because there are a lot of times. Have you ever looked at your 2-drop slot or your 3-drop slot? Those slots get so crowded. Everybody's got 1 drop, but it seems like the 2 and 3 drops are what makes or breaks our deck. Used to, back in the day, in Standard, and it still may be this way, I don't know. I checked out of Standard a long time ago. The defining thing was, what's your turn to play? What's your turn to play? But Void also, in our format, there are many cards where we actually know what cards are in our opponent's hand, and Void can just take advantage of that. Now, I remember going to the Invasion pre-release. We sat down. There's a whole bunch of us. There's like 7 of us, and we carpooled, and we drove down to Memphis. They had it in the Ag Center. It was kind of weird. But, and the whole way down there, they had actually released on the internet, because some of the guys had, it was checking spoilers and stuff, and they showed that they listed the entire set except for 5 cards. Now the judges evidently knew about it because this was a 300-400 person pre-release. It's back before they became, you know, LGS possible, and it was just like a regional deal. And we opened our packs, and everybody collectively just tapped their head sideways, and they explained the rules to them. Now, they've kind of tinkered with the rules of split cards over the years. Fuse. Fuse was the ability that we all really wanted, because you look at it and you think, well, I want to do both. The thing here is you have the option to do left or right. Now, split cards, while neat, they're it's not really new. It's just a modal spell. The only difference is your different modes have different casting costs. That's it. But it's still, it is really neat, and I love it when Wizards is able to pull off a surprise factor. Uh, you wouldn't think that's possible anymore, but with the release of Unstable, they proved us wrong. Nobody knew until we started opening packs collectively around the world. Nobody knew that there were art variants, card variants. There was a cameo cycle. These are mana rocks. That's all they did was they tapped for the friendly color cycle. So there was only 5, and they cost 3. They didn't. They often get overlooked for the guild ones, because the guild ones all do the same thing for 3, and they have some other ability, either sacking to draw a card or becoming a creature or what have you. The cameos often get overlooked, but there are situations where you want them all, especially if you're running, like, say, blue-black artifacts. Phyrexian Altar. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure the price incline of this card, I bet it's never gone down. Never. I bet it has done nothing but steady climb since forever. For 19 years now. But sacking a creature to add a mana of any color. This is, to my knowledge, not played in Legacy or Vintage. We did this. This is an expensive card now. So much so that it's was used in bait in master sets. Great card. I used it for tokens or recurring creatures. I mean, just, ooh, it's so good. Planar Portal. 6 to cast, 6 to use, tutor. Now, I ran these. Every one I've ever had that I own is in a deck, and I thought it was just the bee's knees until we got the bridge. The bridge puts it into play. Now, and different decks want different ones. Yeah, the bridge will smack your big win con straight into play, but it won't get you an instant or sorcery. This will. This will get you your insurrection. This will get you your whatever. And if you've got the unwinding clock, and the odds are, if you're playing in a deck with unwinding clock and planar portal, you've probably got enough mana rocks to where if you play planar portal, you're doing it on everybody's turn. Now, however, here's the thing. In a 4-player game, you play planar portal, you've had your clock out, you tutor. The next turn tutor, next turn tutor, next turn tutor, then you untap. You know what? If you can't win having tutored 4 cards, we need to take a serious look at that deck. Either that or it's just fun shenanigans. But anyway, planar portal's good. A lot of people don't like reusable tutors, but here's my thing. It is an artifact, so it's already very fragile. Everybody guns for artifacts. There's a reason why Vandal Blast is worth so much. But the way I look at Planar Portal is I'm going to do it if you let me do it. Urza's Filter. I'm sure you noticed there's a ton of multicolor cards in the set. Urza, or the Invasion block as to come, will be a lot of multicolor cards. And this, I've built solid gold decks, and Urza's Incubator plays a huge role in it. There was also a friendly color cycle of tapped duels. Yeah, nothing special. They just come into play tapped, and you got either or. Now, these were the first ones, and probably the weakest ones. Every single time they do these, they have eclipsed this one. This is probably the worst, because even the guild gates that do the exact same thing have a subtype gate, and that matters. Uh, the ones that come into play and you'll gain a life, that matters. The ones that, yeah. So there's little tweaks they've done, but this was pretty much the baseline for what they have chosen for their common slash uncommon dual slots. Keldon Necropolis. What? Yes, this is a legendary land. It taps to add a colorless mana. You can't even get a red out of it. But 5 mana, one of which has to be red. Tap it. Sack a creature. Oh my god, we better win. Keldon Necropolis deals 2 damage. I'm going to find a use for this. I will. This reads too bad for it to be that bad. And y'all know I think every card's good in the right deck. I'm going to find the right deck for Keldon Necropolis. 5 mana tap, sack a creature for a shock. Okay. And that is what we've got for Invasion. Like I said, it was a big set, 350 cards. That's why we're about 47 minutes in. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. And hope y'all checked out deck number 400. It was a very, very personal deck for me. I had a co-host while recording that one, so I don't know. Y'all may like her better than me. I may have to get her to do more videos. But anyway, I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. And we will see y'all tomorrow.